Hi guys, my name is Makaila. If you've been to this channel before, then welcome back. I am so glad that you're back here for another video. And if you haven't been here before, I just want to say thank you so much for being curious enough to stop by and watch this video. You've definitely walked into a very serious video. This is going to be one of my most personal and open videos that I've ever made in my life. And low-key shitting myself, but also know that the only way that I can get all my opinions and my views out is to let everyone know my story and where I'm coming from. I think there's a lot of you guys that know that I've had problems along the way through life. I've had a lot of struggles. I've dealt with some stuff. You know that I have suffered from anxiety and depression before, but no one actually knows like my actual story. And today is that day that I'm going to just let it all out and show you guys where I came from, what I'm all about, and pretty much how I am where I am today, and kind of the story that focuses mostly on depression and anxiety and how it's kind of got me to where I am. The reason that I want to cover this topic is because I think it's probably one of the most talked about topics. Like with people all over my Facebook, my Instagram. I see on Instagram people that share a lot of posts and they'll post a lot of quote photos, and I love posting quote photos. You would know that if you follow me. And I remember back in the day when I used to be the exact same as the people that I see on my Instagram and my Facebook. They post a lot of like quotes all about like missing people, or how they just wish that someone would come back into their life and make it all better, or they'll post breakup quotes, or they'll post just why that they're sad kind of quotes. Just really that quotes that are like a need for an attention kind of. They're quotes that are based on a negative topic and that people post in order to try and get their message out, but real low key, if you know what I mean. But really we all know exactly why someone's posting that and what the underlying problem would probably be. So when I see a lot of people posting all that stuff, and I know exactly why they're posting that kind of stuff because I know how they feel at that point because I've been there and done that, that's when I kind of see that there's more people in the world, there's a lot more people in the world that have problems than people who are trying to fix themselves. So that's kind of why I want to go through my story, because it's a real life story that has like real life problems, and you can definitely get the experience from the stories that I tell you, kind of how it all happens and how it all, how it kind of all got out of hand, I suppose, and how bad it got too. So this is going to be a lengthy video. As you can probably already see the time, you're probably like, holy shit, it's very long, but at the same time, if it didn't really mean something to me, if just doing a half-assed effort, then it wouldn't be that long. This is a real life thing and I can't tell my life story in 2 minutes. Also, we're just going to chuck in a quick disclaimer. I don't know what's going on with my hair right now, but the topic's not on hair, so we can forget about that. So the first part that I want to start on is basically my upbringing, I suppose, because we all start somewhere, and my upbringing is where I started. How my parents were as parents, how their methods were for parenting, all those kinds of things, I suppose, definitely 100% definitely do have an effect on a person as they grow up. I came from a very, very strict family where I had a bedtime up until I was like year 10. Bedtime would be like 8 o'clock. And no later than that, and if you ever dared to even cross a minute over that, you would be going to bed at 7 o'clock the next night for the next week. Kind of things like we weren't allowed to like swear. I couldn't even say fart until I was like 15. That's how strict it was all the time. So constantly having like that pressure on your back of like not being able to mess up, or constantly having to watch what you say or how you do things, definitely made me a very sheltered child, because I just didn't want to fuck up because I didn't want to get in trouble. And the main source of trouble, or having to be so perfect, I suppose, came from my dad's side. It was definitely not my mum. My mum was always supportive, always there for me, always looking out for me. She has always been my safe place for me. When you're a little girl growing up, and you have other brothers and sisters that are coming along with that, you kind of need more than just your mum as well. And of course I had a dad. I grew up with a mum and a dad, and they were together my entire childhood. So I never came from a broken family, but I just came from a family with a very angry dad. My dad had and still does have a very, very bad temper. Snaps very, very quickly and just likes everything to be done his way. And if it's not done his way, then you're pretty much in the firing line. You know, at any point that he doesn't think that things are smooth. There was never a time that I was allowed to voice my opinion. There was never a time where I was allowed to back chat. I did a lot because I'm a Scorpio and we fight fire. Like, we do that kind of shit. And of course, like, I don't like being told what to do, but I would back chat my dad, which would always only get me into even more trouble. We never had a good relationship because we always butted heads. We always were against each other. You know, we were never on the same team, and that really sucks because I think as a girl, you need to have at least one male in your life that you can definitely just call your safe place. Now, I call my mum my safe place because she is, but you need that on both sides. I feel like you need a male and a female that you can just go and confide in and trust 110%. So yeah, I had one side of that. I had mum, but yeah, dad was never that. Dad was never that for me. I don't really remember much as a younger child, but I know that growing up, probably around 10 upwards, shit just went downhill for me. And especially when I hit puberty, especially when I was a teenager, there was clashing every single second. We went 2 weeks without talking to each other one time, and we lived in the same house. There would be points where, like, yeah, you know, we would fight, we would clash that hard that we wouldn't talk for a long period of time, and he's that kind of person that wouldn't want to fix it or wouldn't say sorry. He would always wait for me to say sorry. And if you think about that situation, and then, you know, and I'm sure so many of you girls now think about that in the same situation when you're with your partner, right? So the problems that I gained from my dad, the things that I wanted from him that I never got from him, that I just honestly wanted to seek, I tried to seek in relationships because I wanted that safe place. So of course, like, if I didn't have my dad, I wanted to find a partner that I could call my safe place, that I could do everything that my dad never wanted to do, but with me, in the sense of having someone that just wants to love you and treasure you, that kind of thing. I don't have daddy issues, but my dad wasn't a nice person and didn't make me feel like he was the best dad he could have been while I was growing up. So yeah, it's the root of a lot of my problems. So yeah, that's one problem that I've had, that I've tried to seek in a partner. That's become the reason as to why my relationships just do not work. A second thing would also be the anger side of it. Like, I have a massive fear of angry people. I hate people being loud around me. I hate people yelling at me. If people yell at me, I go into a complete anxiety, like, meltdown. I can't deal with it, but I can't say that that's still me, because that's what it was for me. I've not been in a situation yet where I have been yelled at. So until that comes, you know, since my growing period, I can't really say I know what's going to happen. But yeah, in the past, like, I can't deal with anyone that's angry, anyone that yells at me, anyone that's yelling around me, violence, like if there's fights, you know, on the street or in a nightclub or stuff like that. There's just, that for me is a no-go, because that's what my dad was. He was so angry all the time. If we did anything wrong, we got smacked, and we weren't smacked like once or twice. We were like, ugh, I don't even want to. We weren't beaten. Let's just put it down to that. We were not beaten. So no one needs to think that I was like violently hurt. But he was angry enough to constantly make you feel like you never want to fuck up again, basically. You know, there's a lot of things that I could say that I could give you examples of too, but like, I'm not out to make my dad to be an asshole. Basically, it is what it is. That's how my childhood was, and there's nothing that I can do about that. So the only thing that I can do from that now is to kind of, you know, share my experience, tell you why that I am like I am, and now that I have realized why I am like I am, that's the only reason that I can voice it to you guys. But yeah, I just don't want to like make my dad out to be a complete asshole. So I'm not going to give it examples because it's really not necessary. It was the constant always being yelled at, always not doing things right, or not feeling like you've done something right, or, you know, never being good enough, feeling like you should have done more than what you already have. I've always kind of felt that the only kind of person that's been my safe place in the male form would definitely be my pop. So my mum's dad, my poppy. He's probably been the only one that I can fully voice my opinions to, and he was always a safe person for me, and always, you know, I used to love going to my nan and pops because they were just people that wanted to listen to you, wanted to understand you, wanted to love you. Like, you know, and if I couldn't find that at home, I would always find that at my nan's house. So that was always the plus for me, that I had some kind of male form. It just wasn't my dad, and that is the part that sucks the most. We moved schools a lot during my childhood. I moved to 6 different schools, so we were constantly in the times that we moved through those schools were times when I was kind of understanding more about people, understanding more about what I'm doing, where I'm going, kind of deal. So it was enough to affect me, because constantly moving schools means you constantly need to be the new kid, and no one even likes being the new kid the first time. So imagine doing that 6 times. You have to sit next to people you don't know, you have to try and make friends with people you don't know, you have to try and suss out for yourself what group is what, how can you be accepted, what's right, what's wrong. So much stuff goes into being the new kid, and I'm sure that so many of you know exactly how that feels. But to do it so many times as well can really mess with you if you're not a confident person, if you're a shy person, and that's exactly what I was. I was so shy. I would never say boo because I never really had a voice. So it was never easy for me to be like, hey guys, I'm the new kid, who wants to be my friend? No way. I would just sit down, keep my mouth shut, not look at anyone, keep my head in my books, and that was it. I was just the quiet little girl that was just there for no reason. I was just there. So that would have a massive problem with what I call now my social anxiety. Like, I don't go out and party with people. I don't go out to pubs even that I have a large amount of people in them, because if I had to go to, you know, a beer garden or something and it's just packed and I had to stand around and like lots of people looking at me or looking past me or just things like that, I cannot get a grasp on being okay in an environment like that. And yeah, it sucks because I'm such an introvert. Like, I stay at home. I like to have my own little space. I like to do my own things with myself. If I want to be with anyone else, it'll be with one other person, and that's it. You know, it's just the person that I've become because of the things that have happened to me growing up, I suppose. But it's okay because I've learned to love that a little bit, and I know that having a problem such as social anxiety is something that I can work on, because it's not forever. I can make it better. And that for me is the biggest problem now. Like, I don't really have anxiety and I don't really have depression, so I have my social anxiety, and that's what I want to focus on. So now that I've got these other 2 things, you know, kind of under control, is the only reason that I can speak to you guys about it now, because I'm getting on top of it. So I can confidently tell you guys, you know, how I did that. So obviously after school and all that jazz, I went through a teenage rebellious period. It was a shit time, whatever, it is what it is. I can't even be bothered going into it because it means nothing. I had a few relationships. I had my first ever relationship, which, you know, for me is just my first relationship. That's all it was. Everyone has a first. That's all it was for me. The second relationship, I don't even know what that was. That was just messed up. For the people that don't know, it was the guy that lied about a whole lot of stuff, but like big lies. I did a whole video on it. I think it's called The Worst Lie I've Ever Been Told. So if you want to watch that, you can go find that video. Then we're getting to the third relationship. So the third relationship for me was my proper relationship, my proper first relationship, because that lasted almost 3 years. First year was, I think, pretty good. Like, I was really content, I was really happy. But as you do after like the first year, you start finding problems with each other within the relationship, but you also stay because you're young and you think, it's my first relationship, this is going to be forever kind of deal, we're going to make it work. So as we did, we tried to make it work. For the next 2 years, it was absolute hell. I had no courage whatsoever to get up and leave. He didn't either, because yeah, we just thought that that's how it's meant to be. You know, every relationship has arguments, so we just need to get over ours. But it never happened because we were too young. You don't understand. Like, I don't think that you can have a full grasp and understanding of life until you've actually had to live it or live through a bad enough situation for you to be able to say, holy fuck, I need to change. And at that point, I was like 17. there's no way that I could be in a relationship that I was going to be in forever. But of course I thought I was. For me, that relationship was a lesson, of course, because it was my first. The lesson that it taught me was that I needed to not be so negative anymore, because the partner that I was with was actually a positive person and wanted to see positivity around him and that kind of thing. And I thought I was open-minded, but I now realize how close-minded I really was, because I just thought he was talking shit. And it's not until now that I realized he was talking a whole lot of sense. And we're really good friends at this point. Like, at this moment, me and him are really good friends, because now that I've grown up a little bit and he's grown up a little bit and we're mature enough to actually have a conversation without any problem whatsoever, and we're on a same kind of like path of understanding things about life, and I now understand what he was trying to tell me back then, it's kind of proved to me that it was, you know, it was a lesson, because what was then put in front of me at that point that I didn't realize was actually very useful information. I've gone my entire, you know, next 3 years from that and only just realized what that first relationship really kind of meant. We just didn't click because I think I was a negative person. I definitely was, because, you know, like I said, I was trying to seek that love and attention and affection from a partner that I was probably asking way too much for, like, of. It was his first relationship. It was my first real relationship. And, you know, I just probably had too much pressure on making it work. And that is just so wrong. Like, I know so many wrongs in my relationships that I now look at and I'm like, oh my God, like, how did I let that happen? But, you know, it happens. It's a lesson. And now that I can sit back and realize that it was wrong at some point, that is so good, because it means that I've learnt that, I've grown from that. So I don't see my mistakes or my bad relationships as anything negative whatsoever. I never had actually experienced anxiety at this point yet. The only thing that I had ever really experienced, you know, going through high school and then going through this first relationship was depression. I ended up getting depression pretty bad. That's when I realized that there was an actual problem, that my sadness, my mood swings, my upset level, like the things that I would think, I just realized that it was more than just being sad or being upset. I think because I had so much pressure on myself to make it work when I knew that it probably wasn't going to, you know, that really let me down, because I thought, fuck, you know, like, no one wants to love me, no one wants to be with me, no one wants to make it work, no one can handle me, kind of, you know? That's how I felt. I started getting anxiety towards the end of that relationship because we were fighting so much. It got to a point where he was quite controlling. He wasn't letting me, like, you know, he'd ask why I was getting so dressed up or why I was putting so much effort into myself when I didn't need to, kind of. And I know that might sound like maybe I'm in the wrong because he was giving me a compliment, but it wasn't really like that at all. It's like whenever we went out, he would be like, you know, why are you getting so dressed up for? You don't need to, you know, no one else is going to get dressed up. But it's like, I liked looking after myself. I still do like looking after myself, but he didn't like that. So it was controlled in that kind of sense. So I was leaving my house to go to a job which was in a nightclub, which was completely out of my comfort zone, because I just told you I was so shy. And I was still shy at this point. So going into a nightclub area when there's people packed, I have to deal with people all the time. I have to deal with people who I work with who are happy and like to dance and like to party themselves. And then there's little old me who's just like, oh, hey guys, like, I'm working in a nightclub. It's not my scene, but I'm going to try. You know, kind of gave me anxiety every single night. Every single time that I'd be driving to work, I'd start having shaky hands. I would start breathing really heavy. My tummy would feel like someone was pressing on it, my chest. My heart would race. I would just start thinking, and I would just think of every single thing that was going to happen that scared the shit out of me, that was really putting me off even going to work. There was not an environment that I really felt safe in or happy in, you know. I had a home with a boyfriend who I was fighting with at every second of the day and night. And then I was going to a job that I was so far out of my comfort zone that I didn't know that I could actually even be in that environment anymore. And in an environment where there's loud music, there's people fighting, there's, you know, people yelling and screaming, and can you see how I put myself in a situation where it's literally my worst fear? So while I was dealing with that, this relationship ended up breaking up. I ended up getting the courage and just saying, no, fuck this. I can't do this anymore. This is not me. It's not him. We need to end this because it's going absolutely nowhere. We're wasting everyone's time. So I took the little courage that I had and I got up and got out. Meanwhile, we were trying, as couples do, I suppose after a breakup, you have the text messages and you have, you know, the conversations that you don't really want to have. It's either going to be against each other or for each other. Can we fix it? Do I hate you? Do you hate me? That kind of shit. Then I had a job that was scaring me to be in the place because of the environment. So I was trying to deal with a breakup while dealing with a work environment that was scaring me also. And that was the point that I decided, you know, it was scaring me because I didn't know what I was going to do anymore. I thought, my relationship's done. I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. When you're young and that kind of stuff, it seems like the end of the world. And it did seem like the end of the world. I didn't really know where else to turn anymore. And I was just so cut that my relationship did not work because I just wanted it to. I wanted that to work so bad. And it really, really broke me. And that's probably when the first kind of suicidal thoughts came along. I didn't know what else to do, I suppose. I hate talking about it because I don't really, I don't know, I don't really know how to feel about it. It's not something that I like to express much. Like, I don't really express any of this to anyone. I think, like, shit just got so far out of hand that I honestly thought it was the end of the world for me, and I couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't see anyone wanting to love me ever again. Just all your normal, typical, like, teenager breakup stuff. So I had a little phase of, like, what do I do now? You know, do I bite the bullet or do I get help? And I thought, there's so much of me that wants to have an amazing life. Like, since I can remember, I've always known that there is a life out there for me that is not like everyone else's. Like, I've always known that. I've always known that I've wanted to have that perfect relationship. It doesn't even have to be perfect. I just want that feeling of security and love and knowing that you're with someone that's your best friend and that you don't have to worry about anything else except just being happy. And I've always just wanted that. That's when I realized that I should go to the doctor. I should try and get help because I shouldn't just think of a way to end it when I haven't tried everything to fix it. So I went to the doctor, had a big meltdown, and he provided me with antidepressants. And I'm pretty sure I've gone over this part before. You know, I started taking them. I told my ex at that point that I was taking them because, you know, I was scared and I wanted to because I didn't know really what else to do. And he talked me out of it because he knows me well enough to know that that's not actually something that I wanted to do. He knows how against, like, taking pills and stuff, drug-wise, how against that I am. So, I was. Not that I do it, but I'm a lot more open-minded these days. But what I'm getting at is he told me that it's not really what I wanted to do, and I agreed with him, so I didn't. I stopped taking them, and I only took like one, so it didn't have an effect on me at all. Soon after that, I decided that I'm going to get my own place, and maybe that can be my fresh start, and that's what I did. I got my own apartment, I was living by myself, and then soon enough, someone else jumped into my life. Next minute, I'm in a relationship again. I'm with someone that I had found a friendship in that I really, you know, enjoyed that friendship with. And, you know, I don't even know why we dated. Like, the only reason that we dated is because he was my rebound, and I felt content in a relationship that made me feel good or feel better than being single and being alone and sad. So I jumped into a relationship. It's just what happens. That's how rebounds work. Then, about, you know, 3, 4, 5 months after that, I think it was 5, I ran into someone that I had run into while I was in my first relationship. And because I was in a relationship, we couldn't really click at all because of that. I was very young. I was 19 at the time when I did meet him, but I was in a relationship and I was in a bad place. So there was no way that we could have gone anywhere from that. So the fact that I ran back into this person in my workplace, he came to my workplace and ended up working there, kind of made me feel like, and him too, I can honestly say that, it's that whole like fate, you know? We came back into each other's life, so maybe there's something there. So we tried to give it a go after I broke up with the rebound, yeah?